Lauri Markkanen just signed a massive contract extension this week, making him untradeable for at least 6 months. The implications this move has on one team is so horrific that they may miss the playoffs for the second consecutive year. Brandon Ingram is linked to a surprising team on the trade market, making an Ingram trade more realistic than ever. And of course, we have more NBA rumors to address in this week's episode of In Case You Missed It, the weekly recap that releases every Monday on this channel. Back to Lauri Markkanen. This will be the last time we discuss Lauri in one of these videos because he will not be traded this offseason and he will be on the Utah Jazz for the long haul. After a long offseason of trade rumors and trade interest surrounding Lauri, he and the Jazz agreed to a lucrative extension. With this move, all potential trades have been eliminated, and that makes it so the Golden State Warriors no longer have a chance at even the playoffs this season, as their season relied on the acquisition of him. Despite having many chances, the Warriors did not capitalize on making a trade with the Utah Jazz because they did not want to trade either of their two most promising young assets, Pods and Kuminga. The reluctance around Pods came from the fact that they view him as the guard of their future, which is kind of crazy to say about a first-year guy that didn't necessarily scream superstar this year. He did show stardom, but to withhold him from a trade preventing the Warriors from becoming a top-level team in a loaded Western Conference, knowing that the Steph Curry era is winding down quicker than anyone would like, is pretty dumb if you ask me. With Jonathan Kuminga, I believe that the Jazz didn't value him as much, so a trade centered around him would have required the addition of an absurd amount of draft capital, which I actually understand not going along with. Personally, I wouldn't mortgage the majority of my future for one player, as draft picks are valuable, especially if you know how to draft. And that brings me to another thing that annoys me with the Warriors. The fact they are a team that drafts well, so finding another player in a draft shouldn't be that hard. Like, look at Brandon Podziemski. Many did not have much expectation for him, and now he's a highly valued young player. I'm just saying. So I get not wanting to add your draft capital in a trade for Lauri Markkanen, but to not trade Brandon Podziemski for Lauri Markkanen and that being the biggest reason you don't want to trade for him is pretty stupid still. Because when we look at the Warriors for this upcoming season, there is a ridiculously high chance they lose round one, and there is also a high chance they don't even make the playoffs in the dangerous and loaded West. Looking at the field, you have the Thunder, Timberwolves, Nuggets, Grizzlies, and Mavericks, who on paper look to be clearly superior compared to the Warriors. Then you look at the Lakers, Suns, Pelicans, and Kings, who have been neck and neck with them, and honestly have had their number. So it is hard to say that they are or can be better than those four on paper. Then factoring in the rising young teams, you have a Warriors team that does not scare anyone in the West, as there are so many question marks about this team, as they have young players taking big roles. Steph Curry's health is becoming a question. Draymond's antics are always questionable. You have an uncertainty with Wiggins, and most importantly, the fact that they do not have a player that is a true big man, leaving the 2025 Warriors looking like a team that is destined to be a disappointment. And the fact they are not doing anything about it is quite alarming and is the reason why they are the team that is collapsing in front of us, because there are only uncertainties surrounding them. And Steph Curry's era in Golden State is going to come to a very disappointing end if the Golden State Warriors don't do anything about it, like they didn't do in this offseason, because they had a clear need and they did not address that need, and now they're going to get embarrassed again. Another thing that we need to discuss surrounding the Warriors is the fact that Jonathan Kuminga is seeking a max contract extension. What? I love Kuminga and the upside of him, but in order to receive a max contract extension, you must be a solidified part of the future for a team and a cornerstone for your organization. Kuminga may be a rising young player, but demanding a max is quite literally insane. So yeah, there's a lot of issues with the Warriors, but it's not looking good for them this upcoming season nor for the future, because Steph Curry's getting up there in age, and just because he went off in the Olympics does not mean he's not aging. I will say one thing though, I am glad the Warriors are not pivoting to Brandon Ingram nor Zach LaVine as desperation moves, but just when we thought Brandon Ingram was going to be a Pelican for at least the start of this season, we got breaking news. No, Brandon Ingram has not been traded, but a new team that we did not think of has just been revealed this week. Funny enough, it is the Utah Jazz who are looking to pair Ingram up with Lauri Markkanen, as the Jazz have been a team hovering the line as a possible play-in team and are looking to make a move to put them over that line and hopefully put themselves as a playoff team. Realistically, any move the Jazz make will not be enough to get them in the playoffs as a top 6 seed, but adding Brandon Ingram would certainly make them a play-in contender. A deal would have to involve Walker Kessler or a third team willing to facilitate a center to head to New Orleans, as a center is the biggest thing the Pelicans lack. Look at how the Pelicans are trying to address this lack of a center. Warriors, take notes. Anyways, if I am Utah, I do not want to pay Ingram $52 million a season. If I extend him, and given his issues that are making him leave New Orleans, I would hate to see him head to Utah and ruin the fun dynamic instilled in this young Jazz team. If I were the Jazz, I would proceed with caution, because I don't really know about Ingram's fit, but that could just be me. The Pelicans are looking for a starting center, like we just mentioned, and one became available this week. Unfortunately, he isn't really the most motivated, nor a physical bruiser type of center you would ideally like, so his fit in New Orleans would be a bad one. But given the description and images you have seen and heard just now, you know I am talking about none other than Deandre Ayton. Ayton became available this week as the Blazers continue to prepare for a late offseason fire sale, and with all the teams that need size, Ayton may find himself in a new situation next season. Obviously, the contract is horrible, as he by no means deserves the amount of money he is making, so finding a fit for him will be challenging. And then you combine the fact that he's not really a strong physical interior presence as a 7-footer, finding a partner just became even more difficult. And because of all that, Ayton will most likely remain in Portland because of the style he plays with and the contract. So a trade that he headlines is quite difficult to imagine, but who knows, maybe there's a team that makes a desperation heave for Deandre Ayton, as stupid as it may seem. As long as he doesn't come back to my Suns, because, we don't need him over here. Jarrett Allen, on the other hand, has way more trade value than Ayton, and despite signing a hefty contract extension, he is back in trade rumors. I'll be honest, I don't believe that Allen has recently signed restrictions, but I could be wrong. If he doesn't, we may be looking at a shocking move that could happen soon, because initially after hearing he signed the extension, we all assumed it was to keep the core in Cleveland together, but apparently Cleveland wanted this extension done to make it so other teams would be more willing to trade for him. Many teams have wanted him, as he is an elite rim protector and physical presence, but not having him under contract for a while hurt the potential packages Cleveland could receive in return. With the new extension, though, trade partners will be more willing to bolster their offers. However, I have high doubt that a trade happens, as the Cavs' new head coach wants him around, and I unfortunately believe the Cavs are going to run it back again. Rumor has it, though, that the Cavs may look to trade him mid-season, though, so let me know what you think about Jarrett Allen and where his best fit should be. I personally do like him in New Orleans. Jalen Brunson was announced as the new official captain of the New York Knicks. Not really a surprise by any means, but still wanted to make it known in this weekly recap. Only 2 signings went down this week, at least 2 signings I heard of. Malachi Flynn is headed to San Antonio in a sneakily good move. And if you haven't heard the name the Utah Jazz enough in this video, they signed knockdown shooter Svi Mykhailiuk for $15 million over 4 years. And the last thing we need to discuss is D'Angelo Russell. D'Lo trade rumors are starting to turn into an offseason tradition, as we are being stormed with rumors about him potentially being traded again. Right now, there are not any landing spots for him, but the Washington Wizards have been linked to him, as they have 2 players the Lakers desperately want and need, Malcolm Brogdon and Jonas Valanciunas. Unfortunately for the Lakers, Valanciunas cannot be traded until the middle of the year because of recently signed restrictions. Brogdon, on the other hand, can be traded, but the Wizards are skeptical about pairing Jordan Poole and D'Lo together, rightfully so, as they are a rebuilding team and they finally have some decent core, at least a core mock-up, and they do not need any loose cannons on their team, let alone 2 of them. So looking at this, the only way a trade surrounding D'Lo and Brogdon can work is if the Lakers can facilitate a third team for Jordan Poole or D'Lo, but no team has been willing to take D'Lo, and Jordan Poole probably has the same situation, so I doubt that we will see an offseason trade surrounding these players. But come to the trade deadline, I'm willing to predict we see a mega trade for the Lakers, with LA acquiring both Jonas Valanciunas and Malcolm Brogdon from the Wizards. I've been doing position rankings on this channel every Friday for the past month. Last week I ranked the best power forwards, and this week we have the centers video. The playlist is on the screen, so if you are interested, click on the playlist and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode. And in case you missed it, the weekly recap on this channel that drops every Monday, like today. Hope y'all enjoyed this weekly recap. Y'all stay safe. Have a good one. Bye.